Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 26th episode of Season 2 of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my sniffly friend, Richie. Richie, what's up?
Oh, been better.
Been better?
Been better.
Well, it's funny because immediately when you said that, I just thought about how cold it is. Everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like where you're at, but where I'm at, it's been near freezing all week.
Yeah, especially at night. I was funny. I went to Vegas for the hockey game, and they were playing Boston, and they showed in the stadium. They showed the stat that in Boston at game time it was 39 degrees, and in Vegas it was 37 degrees. I'm like, we're colder than Boston right now. Like
That's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's been nutty, but. It's my first time I've been sick this winter, so I've been dodging that bullet so far.
I had that, a couple of weeks ago on the podcast even. That was not fun. So Hopefully it's not a full-blown sickness and it just blows over today. But
yeah, usually when I get sick, it's only like 3 days. I wake up not feeling good, and I'm like, oh crap, here it comes. And then the next day I feel awful.
Yeah,
and by the third day I'm like fine.
I still have a lingering little cough from when I was sick. Like every once in a while I'll just cough and hate it. Like what's happening right now?
That could be the vaping.
yeah, that's probably lingering effect of the vape. But, all right, well, this is the first playoff episode. You may notice while we do this podcast, we are not going to cover Week 18's games, only because A, there were a lot of really boring ones that didn't matter at all, and B, you'll know how they turned out based on what the playoff matchups are. And all you really need to say is the Jaguars completely blew their chance. So there's that.
The only two games that really were worth noting were the Jaguars and the Eagles, because the Eagles losing to the Giants, I mean, what the heck is their problem since October?
They managed to win and get into the playoffs because they had a better record going into the end of the season than the Jaguars did, because both of them were lost 5 out of the last 6 games. Jaguars just happened to not make the playoffs, and the Eagles had done well enough in the first half that they still made it. But man, that's a rough way to go into the playoffs.
The Jaguars, I think it was Thanksgiving weekend or sometime around then, the Jaguars were the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And yet did not fire their head coach. So, I don't know.
I don't even know who their head coach is anymore. Who is it?
It's,
Doug Peterson?
Doug Peterson, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah.
I like him, but you can't do that. You can't do that.
I wouldn't like him after doing that. My like would have ended.
We'll talk about coaches here when we get into the news, because there's a lot of coaching news, of course, with Black Friday last Monday. It's not Black Friday. Black Monday last Monday. Black Friday was a few months ago. But yeah, we'll start off, as we do every episode, with a top 5. This week we're going to do the top 5 brightest outlooks in your eyes for non-playoff teams. So 5 teams that you think after this season and watching them play, or at least just the way they ended the season, that they have a bright outlook. So why don't you start us off?
Yeah, this was tough actually, because frankly there aren't 10 non-playoff teams that have bright outlooks. So the first one's a bit of a stretch. It's the Vikings. Only putting them on there because I assume they're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins.
That was going to be my first question.
Yeah, I just think they're going to, and they've got Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. If Cousins comes back healthy and they work a bit on the defense, they were 7-10 this year. They could go 9-8 next year, but it's not so much a bright outlook as it's more like a dim flashlight outlook. It's like, oh, maybe if Cousins comes back healthy, they can, be okay.
Kind of like one of those, maybe they can return to the playoff team they were after because I mean, they were in the playoff hunt up until the second to last week of the season after starting 1-4. So I mean,
yeah,
they and that's without Kirk Cousins for most of the season, with terrible quarterback play from Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall, some decent games from Dobbs, who'd never got a second chance. And, so I feel like you're spot on with that. Not even like a bright outlook, more than just to replace the battery and the flashlight works again type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, not the super brightest. But like I said, it was hard to find 10 non-playoff teams that have bright outlooks.
Well, when we get into our preseason playoff picks, you'll see why I have this one as the first one on my list, and that's the Bengals, who Joe Burrow is hurt and playing hurt most of the season and still didn't have that great of a season. And then Jake Browning came in and still almost led them to the playoffs, and that is the Bengals.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals definitely have a bright outlook for a non-playoff team because, to be honest, if Burrow hadn't been injured the whole season, they would be in the playoffs. So
yeah,
that's an easy one, I'd say.
Yeah, that one's dead on. I mean, they played a really tough division, but if Burrow hadn't gotten hurt, they would be the 7th seed instead of Pittsburgh easily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
My number 2 is Seattle. They just missed the playoffs. They made the playoffs last year. Pete Carroll is stepping into a front office role, retiring from coaching, which is probably good because he was too old to be coaching in the NFL anyways.
Yeah.
So I think the Seahawks, they find the right coach. I still don't think Geno Smith's the answer at quarterback, but I mean, they are loaded with talent on offense. So the right coach comes in and they could look like an entirely different team next year.
Yeah, I say the prospect of having a new coach on that team is what intrigues me about the Seahawks. The question becomes what happens at quarterback with a new coach, because I know Carroll liked Geno, but as a new coach, and Geno's played average this year after being above average last year, so who knows what's going to happen. But yeah. I feel like you said, Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, even Tyler Lockett at this point, Noah Fant from, where'd he come from? The Broncos to the Seahawks?
Broncos. Yeah, then they got the rookie in Smith and Jigba. They've got Zach Charbonnet, the backup running back. Like, they're loaded. Yeah, and little foreshadowing, my next team is also loaded with weapons and just needs the right coach, but we'll get to that.
Yep. BMZR says, I'll miss the Chiefs game, but I get to watch the Lions. Well, I'm glad you at least get to root on the Lions.
Nice.
That Chiefs game is going to be very interesting considering what we'll talk about in the news there with the temperatures. But, yeah, that's going to be one of those, is someone's finger going to break off in the cold game?
Can you imagine trying to field a punt in that weather? Oh my god!
Yeah, it's everything hurts because it's so cold, and then you have a ball flying at you at high speed.
Yes,
it's crazy. My next pick for bright outlooks is the Indianapolis Colts. I feel they almost made the playoffs. All they needed to do was beat the Texans with the way the Jacksonville Jaguars fell off, and they would be the playoff team. So the Colts with the young core, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss even, while playing with Gardner Minshew, almost made the playoffs. And then on top of that, throw in how well Anthony Richardson played before he got hurt coming back next year. I think the Colts, along with their defense, is going to be a very fun team to watch again next year. I had fun. The one game I got to watch on Thursday Night Football where I sat and watched the entire game of the Colts, I liked watching that team. So I'm looking forward to seeing them again next year.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent, and shout out to Gardner Minshew for everything he did with them this year. I mean, when Richardson went down, everybody just assumed they were going to be terrible, and then he responded. So, Yeah, I think next year with Richardson healthy and like you said, all those weapons, they should be again competing in the AFC South.
And they're in one of the two South divisions, which are two of the worst in football. So, I mean, it won't take a lot for them to get better and be at the top of it. So they're in a good spot with where they're at.
Absolutely. So my next team, I mentioned it with the Seahawks. It's a team loaded with talent that just needs the right coach, and it's the Falcons. Thank God they fired Arthur Smith. He seemed to be a complete idiot.
Yeah. Now Bijan and Kyle Pitts actually have a chance to get a second contract and make that money or make the team better.
Yes. They need a quarterback still, and they have a fairly high draft pick if they decide to trade up or take somebody. And
I've actually seen
Bill Belichick.
I've actually seen a lot of mocks for them to get Jaden Daniels, which would
I've seen mocks with them trading up. I've seen a lot of people talking about Justin Fields going there because he's from Atlanta or Georgia. But yeah, I mean I think the Falcons next year are definitely going to be a surprise team coming out of the NFC South. It's a weak division, as you mentioned, so they might just run away with it next year.
Yeah, those. If a team can get to double-digit wins in either of the South divisions next year, they're probably going to be the winners because they were just so bad this season, both of them, that if someone decides that they want to be a winning team, the odds are they are going to be division winners. So we'll see what happens with the Falcons. My next pick is based solely nothing really on the players, but more so on what they do at coach, and that is the Chargers, because we both know that the Chargers are completely filled with talent and completely misused for multiple years now. Having Herbert, Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett, all the people that they have on that team on offense, and then I'm not even talking about the defense with Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., all their defensive players, Bosa. If the Chargers can find a coach that takes advantage of all that they have, I really look forward to seeing the Chargers next year. The problem is, the first thing that I heard about the Chargers since they fired their coach in the offseason so far is that they're interviewing Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator. And all I can tell you is that he is a part of the problem. So if they hire him, expect more of the same. If they hire outside of the Chargers for someone new to bring in to change that team or the philosophy and the culture of that team, then I have high hopes for them. If they hire Kellen Moore, it'll be more of the same, and I'm just that bright outlook just goes out the window.
Yeah, I agree. It's I've heard a lot of people talking about with the Commanders, the same thing with Eric Bieniemy taking over as head coach. It's like he was there this year, guys. I mean, they still didn't win games. And then the other thing with the Chargers too is just I hear a lot of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen might be gone because their cap space is a nightmare. Like if they end up having to blow up the team, man, that's going to be really depressing because they had a very short window and never won anything.
Yeah, so. Never took advantage of it.
Yeah. My next one is the Raiders. They played very well for Antonio Pierce, and it seems like the team is rallying around him as their next head coach. They want him.
Mm-hmm.
That's always good when you get a coach the players respond to, and I just think for the Raiders organization, after dealing with John Gruden and then Josh McDaniels, to have a coach that the players seem to really love could be good for them. And
I really hope they don't make the bad decision here and not hire him, thinking that they're too smart for their own good.
Max Crosby said, if he's not the next head coach, I want to trade. So it's like, not only would you hire the wrong coach, but you'd piss off one of your best players, and he would want out of. Like, it's like, just give the job to Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I'm like, if you really want to lose the team, because on top of that, Max Crosby said what he said, but Devontae Adams hasn't been happy for 2 to 3 years since he got there. And he seems to be happy now with Antonio Pierce as the coach. If you don't hire Antonio Pierce, what do you think the odds that Davante Adams wants out as well? You know,
fairly high.
Yeah, they are at a very big crossroads right now, and if they make the bad decision, they might lose the locker room completely and have to blow up and start completely from scratch. So we'll see what happens. My next pick is a team that if they become good, will not be good for me as a Lions fan. With the way Montez Sweat played and that defense played since the second he got there, and then the way the Bears played down the stretch, the Bears look good. Now it all boils down to what happens in the draft with that number 1 pick and whether they decide to move on Fields, which publicly they haven't said. They've shown a lot of support for Fields, which is exactly what you do when you have the number 1 pick, because if you really want someone to have interest in trading for that pick, you got to say certain things and do certain things to make that demand higher. And you don't show your hand early, right? So we don't really know for sure that they're 100% on Justin Fields, but he did play better down the stretch, and so did the team completely. So we'll see what happens with the Bears. I personally feel like the NFC North is going to be one of the better divisions next year. Vikings will be better. Packers get another year under Love, who's, despite my still, reluctance to say that Love is the guy there. They're in the playoffs, and that's not deniable. So, and the Vikings, like I said, are almost, if they get Cousins back, they've got all the talent. So it'll be interesting to see where the Bears fall in that NFC North order next year. But I feel like there's a chance they might not be at the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what in the world's going to happen with the Bears. Everything that I've heard is that they seem to love Caleb Williams, but then everything from Caleb Williams is that he doesn't want to go to Chicago. So I read yesterday he has until the 15th to declare for the draft, and if he doesn't and returns to school, that just kind of throws everything up in the air. Then they might stick with Justin. I don't know what's going to happen. It's nuts. But, yeah, they definitely, the defense looked a lot better. DJ Moore had a great year. They need a running back. They need another receiver. I mean, they still got a lot of work that they need, but they got a bunch of cap space again this year. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator who maybe will throw the ball past the line of scrimmage. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the Bears go, especially at quarterback.
The only thing I'll say about the Bears, out of the NFC North, they're the one I hate the least. And it might be partly in part because you and your dad are fans of them. But the other part is, despite them having years where they've been very good in the NFC North/Central, they are the other team that's usually found at the bottom of the division. So yes. I would much rather see the Lions and the Bears at the top and the Packers and the Vikings at the bottom. So I'd much rather see the Bears be good than the other two. So we'll see what happens.
It's funny. My dad says the same thing. He's like, the Lions are the one, the divisional rival he hates the least. Like, obviously it's the Packers and the Vikings. He's like, the Lions are usually in the bottom with them. It's like the Bears and Lions just alternate who finishes last.
Right.
So it's like, no, there's no animosity there.
Yeah. BMZR in the chat brought up an interesting point that I remember reading as well this week. But did you see that I forget which Jets wide receiver it was, randomly gave up his number 17 on the team, starting speculation that the Jets were getting ready to trade for Davante Adams?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Like, there was a lot of speculation that the Davante Adams was about to become a Jet and get that number 17, whether it's at the draft time or after the draft.
I thought Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers hated each other.
I don't know. Do they? I mean, he did leave Aaron Rodgers, so there's that. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought he didn't really like Aaron because he was forced out of Green Bay so the Packers could pay Aaron instead of paying Devontae Adams. I don't know. We'll see, but it would be just like the Jets to make a move like that is no way going to actually help them win because Aaron Rodgers is still a 40-year-old washed-up quarterback.
Yeah. You mean political commentator?
Yes. That's his new gig.
Yeah.
He's just a talking head.
What's your last team?
So my last team is my team. It's the Commanders. I honestly cannot remember the last time I felt this optimistic about my team. We got the new owner last year. We had a bad year, but it got us the number 2 pick. We have 5 picks in the top 100 of the draft. We have the most cap space in the NFL going to free agency. We just hired the most sought-after GM candidate in the NFL, and Adam Peters from San Francisco. And hopefully next up is hiring the number 1 coach candidate, Ben Johnson, from your Lions. So
the only place I'm okay with him leaving to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's staying in the family, you know?
Yes, exactly.
We're going to get our franchise quarterback at 2, whether it's Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or we trade up for Caleb Williams. We've got a lot of draft picks and capital. The team's going to be completely different next year. It's going to be like 60% of the roster is going to be turned over because Ron Rivera didn't know how to identify talent. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited. Like it's the Texans went from picking second in the draft to winning their division with the right GM, the right coach, and just a few extra pieces. And I'm really hoping the Commanders can at least do that. Maybe not win the division because our division is a little harder than the AFC South, but maybe we can win 9 or 10 games and be a wild card. So yeah, I'm just so excited for this offseason as a Commanders fan.
And their draft free agent cap space. Wow, what words? What's their cap space look like? Is it pretty good?
It's $94 million, which is the most in the NFL. And we still have people we could cut to free up more.
Is Jonathan Allen going to be there next year?
I don't know. I think so. I think with the changes in the front office and the coaching staff, like they could trade him because we've got him and Daron Payne sitting next to each other in PT. But we don't need any more draft picks. I think if he just sits down with a new coach, like he'll be more excited. I mean, Terry McLaurin said the same shit about like we're tired of losing, we want to win. Yeah, like obviously everybody is. But yeah, I don't know. I doubt they'll move on from Jonathan Allen.
I only asked because after trading, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I'm wondering if they were to get rid of Jonathan Allen, that would mean a lot of focus on defensive line in the draft. And I'm sure there still will be, but missing Jonathan Allen on top of those other two and only having Daron Payne, I don't know who the rest of your linemen are. I know there were some younger guys that played at the end there that you were excited about, but
I like KJ Henry. He's a defensive end. We're definitely going to draft a pass rusher in the second round with one of our 2 early picks. I don't see them giving up John. See, the reason they gave up on Sweat and Young is because they have to re-sign them. So they were like, well, rather than re-sign them, we'll just trade them. Whereas Jonathan Allen signed for like another 3 years. So it's like, we'll just keep him.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll see.
Alrighty. Makes sense to me. Well, mine also is another homer pick on the Outlook. I picked the Cardinals simply for a couple of reasons. I really like after one season, and despite them getting the number 4 pick, seeing a team with a roster that we thought would get the number 1 pick play hard without Kyler Murray, with Josh Dobbs, who wasn't there very long and wasn't even there at the end of the season. So see them play hard all season for their new coaching staff, which was the youngest coaching staff ever, by the way. Seeing them play hard from them, building a culture even though you don't have – everyone told you didn't have the talent to win games. Almost winning games. I look forward to seeing what the coaches can do next year after they've had a full offseason, a second offseason to make their picks, sign free agents who might actually want to come to Arizona now. Kyler Murray played very well towards the end of the season, despite I'm pretty positive them trying to lose, despite them being in games. Me saying that, since we're not covering Week 18, I'll just say it now. I'm absolutely positive that Jonathan Gannon told Matt Prater to miss that kick. Are you frozen?
No? Am I?
Oh, your picture's frozen. Now you're back. Okay. I'm absolutely positive Jonathan Gannon told Matt Prater to miss that kick. That would have won them that game. Because that was a difference between like the 4th pick and like the 8th pick.
It was mind-blowing that he missed both of those kicks in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
It was pretty weird. But no, I agree, man. Jonathan Gannon surprised the hell out of me this year. He seems to be a great coach, and they don't have a lot of talent, but they definitely played up. So,
and I think the development of Kyler Murray as a under the center quarterback all through till the end of the year is what gives me high hopes for him, because I know the percentage from he played 6 games? His first 6 games before their bye, and then the last 6 games, his percentage of him under center taking snaps as a pro-style quarterback went up every game. And I think the first game it was like 5% of his were under snaps, and I think in the last game it was like 35 to 40% of him was under center. And they were doing better when he was under center. So with a whole offseason of him to practice under center, which he never did under Cliff Kingsbury, I think they've got the quarterback. Hopefully they can find a way to get Marvin Harrison, and then just continue to build around their main players and, well, the few main players they have. It'll be interesting to see where the Cardinals are next year.
Yeah, I think they'll get Marvin Harrison. I think you're going to have 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. So they should just have them fall in their lap. Yeah, and then they need some more help on defense, especially in the secondary, pass rushers. But yeah, it was a much better. The record doesn't reflect it, but the year went a lot better than I thought it would.
For sure. Let me see. I'm pretty sure they're like the Commanders, where they have a bunch of picks in the top 100. Let me see. Cardinals. No. Fullest fair Cardinals 2024 draft picks. They have 2 first-rounders, a second, and 3 thirds. So they have a very top-heavy draft, which is good for them.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. They have I'm checking their cap space. So right now it says they have $40 million in cap. So I mean that's pretty good too.
Yep. And I would expect them to offload people like Hollywood Brown and a few others to make more money.
I think Hollywood's a free agent, so he won't be back.
Is he?
I think Buda Baker's probably going to be traded. So yeah, they definitely have some capital to work with. Yep.
I agree. All right, let's go into the news. Starting off, this is an interesting thing I saw on Twitter. Did you know that this is the first postseason since 1998-1999 that does not feature Peyton Manning or Tom Brady?
That's nuts.
Isn't that insane? That's almost
social media.
How many years is that? 25?
25? Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's a completely new landscape in the NFL with most of the old quarterbacks being gone. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I just thought that was an interesting thing. I told Joy, because of that's one of those things, they're just cemented in legacy so much that I can tell my wife that, and she knows exactly why that is meaningful.
Even Joy understands.
Can tell even non-football fans.
Yes.
So who got fired and what are the openings?
So we had some in-season firings. Panthers fired Frank Reich. The Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. Chargers fired Brandon Staley. We talked about for the Raiders, Antonio Pierce was their interim head coach and did a very good job, and seems like he's going to get the permanent position. On Black Friday Monday, we had the Falcons fired Arthur Smith. Commanders fired Ron Rivera. The Titans, in a shocking move, fired Mike
Very
Vrabel.
shocking. That one was like,
Uh,
he had what, like a 40 something and then like 40 something wins and a certain amount in the teens of losses, and he still was fired.
yeah, they it's one of those where well, if we're not in the playoffs, so you're not successful. It's like, well, he is successful. Look at the quarterbacks you're playing, and the 32-year-old running back or whatever. Like, come on, guys. Like, yeah, but crazy. The Seahawks, Pete Carroll retired, which was surprising, but I had heard rumors about. And then the Bill Belichick and the Patriots parted ways. Nice way of saying he was fired. But they mutually agreed to part ways. And then the Patriots already hired Gerard Mayo to replace him, which is pretty cool, I think. I thought they'd go with Vrabel, but pretty cool that, former Patriot Gerard Mayo has been there coaching, and now he gets to take over for Belichick. I like that.
And think about first of how many years did everyone think Josh McDaniels was going to be Belichick's replacement? And the one year he leaves to go to the Raiders is when Belichick is finally gone. And Gerard Mayo, I heard, it was in his contract that he would replace Belichick had he left. So perfect timing for him. But think of it.
The funny thing with Josh McDaniels was if he had just stayed there, he would have absolutely taken over. But instead, he went to Denver and then the Raiders and failed both times. And I think the Patriots like, well, there's no way we can make you a head coach since you've already shown us you can't do it.
Yeah. You got fired in the middle of last season. You think that we're going to be able to hire you as our coach?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
But another interesting thing on the Gerard Mayo front is how to me, it's interesting. The former linebackers as head coaches that have been doing well. Think of DeMeco Ryans with the Texans making the playoffs this year surprising everyone. Antonio Pierce replacing Josh McDaniels as on the Raiders and possibly earning himself a head coaching job for the Raiders. And now you got Gerard Mayo taking over for the Patriots. It'll be interesting to see those three former linebackers turned head coaches if they continue their winning.
And even like in the past, Ron Rivera, former linebacker, Mike Singletary, former linebacker. Like linebackers are like the defensive play callers on the field. So I think it just transitions into understanding a lot. That's why I'm surprised you don't see more quarterbacks being as coaches. Right. I guess like Kevin O'Connell now and Kellen Moore, like they are becoming more and more.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. Yeah, even though he's sucked, but
he was a head coach.
Yeah, Harbaugh. That's Jim Harbaugh. That's one. Yeah.
True.
But what were we talking about? Okay, we covered all the coaches.
Oh, one last thing on the coaches. Hilarious to me that Arthur Smith. They didn't even wait till Black Monday to fire him. He got fired Sunday night, late in the night.
Yeah. He should have been fired 8 weeks ago, but
they were
finally got there.
Waiting until the games were over. They're like, all right, we're not waiting till Monday. You're gone.
Yeah.
You're out.
I'll be right back.
All right. Other news, Amon-Ra St. Brown named to the first team All-American. Not All-American, All-Pro. So after we talked about how he got Pro Bowl snubbed, he actually was put on the first team All-Pro with CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill, just cementing the fact that the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest, and the Sun God is still working on his popularity. But to go with all his skill and his stats from this year, named to the first team All-Pro. So I was happy to see that. In playoff news, A.J. Brown was ruled out for the wild card round of the playoffs against the Buccaneers. So the Eagles, who are already having a hard time running into the playoffs, losing so much before becoming a 5 seed, 6 seed? I can't remember. I think they're 5. Before making that seed, falling out of the home field advantage, now they don't have their best receiver. So that is going to be rough for the Eagles. If you thought they were in a rough spot playing badly before now, they are most definitely in a rough spot without A.J. Brown. So,
well, I heard Jalen Hurts is banged up too.
Yeah.
So, it'll be an interesting game on Monday.
Kudos to St. Brown. Yeah, I'm very happy for him for sure, making the All-Pro team. And that's the one that's more respected, I think, than the Pro Bowl at this point is the All-Pro team. So,
yeah, nobody cares about the Pro Bowl anymore.
Yeah. Other thing, we were kind of mentioning and hinting at this earlier, but Kansas City versus the Dolphins was not moved, unlike the Buffalo Steelers game. Kansas City versus Dolphins is set to be -5 degrees, which would put it in the top 5 coldest games ever for the NFL.
What's the wind chill, do you know?
That I don't know, but I saw something in the -20s for the wind chill.
Yeah, wind chill around -23 degrees.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Does that
the Dolphins are dead.
Yeah, a team from Miami playing in that cold, it's just, I would bet on the Kansas City Chiefs at this point.
Yeah.
But to go along with that cold, Buffalo Steelers was supposed to be on Sunday in the 3-game slot for Sunday, and the Buffalo Steelers game was moved to from Sunday to 4:30 Eastern on Monday. So now it's 2-2-2 as far as playoff games go between Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, that's pretty nice getting some double headers all 3 days, 3-day weekend.
Yep. That works out well for everyone that wants to fill 3 straight days with football, which is, always my favorite.
Best.
So, yep, that's pretty much it for the news. There's a lot going on going into these playoffs, though.
Well, as the off-season started up, there's always a lot happening.
Let's go into the 2023-2024 Coffin Corner Picks final standings. All right, so after last week, you had a better week than me, but not quite enough. So I ended up week 18. I had a 9-7 record, and you had an 11-5 record. So you got 2 of the 3 that we picked different, right? I think, or maybe 3 of the 5.
Well,
no, there were 6. There were
2
6.
of the.
Right?
I got Would you do 6 or 5 or 6 different? I don't know, but either way, with all the bonuses you gave me there at the end, it made it more respectable. But in reality, you ran away with this year.
In the end, overall, 182-97 for me with a 652 winning percentage. I did not hit 100 losses, and that's what I'm happy about. So I kept it under 100 losses, almost got to 200 wins. So very, very good season, I think, for my picks. You wound up 179-108 with a 0.624 winning percentage, which, 62% of your picks, 65% of my picks, not too shabby, I would say. So
yeah, hey, we're still almost 2/3 right.
I'd say we set a precedent there as far as picks, because I don't think they were that good last year. So we'll see if we get better or worse next year. I feel like this might be a pinnacle moment, but we'll see. Preseason playoff picks review. So I put we spent over the 4 preseason weeks. We kind of did our reviews of each division and made picks on who we thought would end up winning. And I've got those picks here to see how we did.
Right. Real quick, I pulled up last year's results. My winning percentage was 0.649. Yours was 0.631. So
wow,
actually, yeah,
seems
we're
like
actually
right
just
on.
very good at picks, I guess.
Yeah, I was say, or just right in there. That's crazy. Well, then maybe we can have. Maybe there's still a pinnacle moment there. Can I get to 700? That's what I want to know.
Ooh, that'd be impressive.
All right. So for AFC picks in the North, the winner was the Ravens. We both picked the Bengals to be the winners of the NFC North. That didn't quite work out for us.
No, Joe Burrow injury, plus the Ravens defense just played like crazy this year.
Oh, so good. In the AFC South, the winner was the Texans. Who could see that coming? Because we both picked the Jaguars. And that did not Jaguar. But that so far, and the ones we've named, our winners aren't even in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Jaguars, that's their fault. I mean, the Bengals, Joe Burrow got hurt. You can't, nothing you can do about that. But the Jaguars just blew their playoff chances and the chances to win that division. I mean, yeah, the Texans came out of nowhere. I definitely would have picked them to finish last in that division.
I think I was also looking at our top 5 for teams most likely to get the number 1 pick. And I think either one or both of us had picked the Texans. So,
yeah. Makes sense.
AFC West, the winner was the Chiefs. We both picked the Chiefs, so we got that one right. Despite the Dolphins. No, not that. That's the next one. Who's in the Chiefs division?
Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, who all did nothing.
Okay, yeah. So it's always the Chiefs. AFC East is the one that was weird. The winner was the Bills. I picked the Dolphins, which was a good pick up until the last week of the seasons, where the Bills beat the Dolphins to win the division. And you picked the Bills, so you got the edge on that one.
Yeah, Dolphins just frittered it away.
As far as AFC division winner picks, you got 2, and I got 1. Ouch. NFC picks. North, I picked the Vikings because I didn't want to jinx my Lions, and you picked the Lions, and the Lions won it. So,
heck yeah.
There we go. And in the South, NFC South, the winner was the Buccaneers, and we both picked the Saints. So,
which again, that one was a crapshoot. Everybody but the Panthers had a chance at the division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Derek Carr just couldn't get it done in the end. But he had a chance in the last week, so it's not like that was out of the question. NFC West, you got the 49ers winning it, and we both picked the 49ers.
Easy.
I mean, literally, my NFC and AFC picks were almost the same. They were both screwed in the last week as far as the East goes for me. I did not get the North and the South right in the AFC or the NFC. And in the East, the winner was the Cowboys. I picked the Eagles, and you picked the Cowboys. The Eagles lost their division in the last week, just like the Dolphins did.
Nope.
And so I got it wrong.
I only did that because no one wins the NFC East 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I remember you saying that before the season started, and it wound up being correct. So,
nope. That's why next year I'll pick the Eagles.
All right, as far as Coffin Corner playoff seeding and picks goes, we got 4 teams defying the odds that neither of us picked. And that was the Los Angeles Rams, the Green Bay Packers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All made the playoffs, and neither of us picked them. Now, there was a couple teams in there that one of us picked and the other didn't. Which, for example, you picked the Browns and they made it. I did not pick the Browns. I think there was one for me I picked that you didn't pick. I can't remember who
Dolphins.
It was. Dolphins, yes, there you go. So, yeah. But those 4 teams managed to make it with nobody picking them to win it. So that's absolutely crazy. Why don't you cover your playoff picks? Because I want your NFC picks are crazy to me. And I want to hear what you say about it.
All right. So my 7 teams in the playoffs in order. I had the Chiefs finishing first. They actually finished third. I had the Bengals finishing second. Of course, Joe Burrow. I had the Bills finishing third. They finished second. Then I had the Jaguars and the Chargers, who both missed the playoffs. The Ravens I had finishing 6th. They actually finished first. And then I had the Browns finishing 7th, and they were the 5 seed. So all in all, I got 4 out of 7, which I'm happy with.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFC, I also had 4 out of 7, but I nailed exactly how they would finish.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is pretty awesome that I wish I had gotten more right, but I love the fact that the 4 I got right, I placed them exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. I'm like, 49ers 1. Wait, that's where they were. Cowboys 2. Holy crap.
Yep. 49ers 1 seed, Cowboys 2 seed, Lions 3 seed, Eagles 5 seed. I knew it's funny. The Saints, the NFC South as the 4 seed was obvious. I just picked the wrong one. But then, yeah, I had the Vikings and Giants as the wild cards instead of the Packers and Rams.
Yeah, the Rams came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I did not expect Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams to come out of nowhere. That changed the entire outlook for the Rams.
Yep, for sure. Well, I also had 4 AFC teams. I had the Bengals number 1, which they didn't make the playoffs. I had the Chiefs number 2. They were actually 3. I had the Dolphins number 3. They were actually 6. I had the Jaguars 4. They didn't make it. I had the Ravens 5. They're actually the 1 seed. And the Bills 6, who are the 2 seeds. So I kind of had everything backwards. But I had the Jets at 7, which kind of flew out the window on the 4th play of their season. So yeah, that one screwed me. But 4 out of 7 I got there.
I think we got 4 out of 7, both of us in both conferences. Like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's
over half.
Over half on both of them. Yeah. 49ers 1. I had them 1. I had the Eagles 2. They were 5 because the Cowboys of them flip-flopped. I had the Saints 3 out. Vikings 4 out. Lions 5. They were 3. Cowboys 6. They were 2. And then I had the Seahawks at 7. Yeah, the only other thing I want to throw on with my picks is that I had the Bengals over the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So my entire playoffs is chalked.
My AFC Championship Bills over Chiefs is still possible. My NFC Championship Eagles over Lions, still possible. And my Super Bowl Bills over Eagles, still possible. So I'm happy with that. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we still got you've still got some juice there. Me, on the other hand, the best I can get is the 49ers to the Super Bowl on picks. So that leads us into the playoff picks because we're already here. The games are starting here in an hour, so I'm excited for that. I think in an hour, right?
2:30 our time. So yeah, a little over an hour.
Sweet. Well, I'm ready for that. So let's start it with the game that's starting in an hour and a half, and that is the Browns at the Texans, where the Browns are actually favored by -2. They're favored by 2. So.
You've gone first all year, so I'll go first if you want.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
I'm gonna go with the Browns. I like the Texans, but I just think the Browns defense is too good. Joe Flacco's been playing well. I think the Browns get it done.
See, it's hard for me to pick this game because I don't know what the health of those Texans wide receivers are. Like, I know Tank Dell's out, obviously.
Right.
Nico Collins went off by himself last game, but he was the only person catching passes. And if he's the only person catching passes in a playoff game, that's probably not going to go well. So I don't know. I forget who the other really good receiver was. and if he's going to play.
Noah Brown.
Oh, Noah Brown, yeah. And I don't know if he's playing or not, but it's tough because the question is whether Flacco continues his magic or that was a regular season thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, Noah Brown is questionable. Robert Woods questionable. So it's really not sure what happens. It'll be a fun game for sure. I'm going to still go with the hometown team. Actually, you know what? I'm with you. I saw something that kind of made me question what's going to happen here as an NFL conspiracy theorist. I'm going to go with the Browns simply because I believe if the Browns win, their next playoff matchup would be against the Ravens, and it would be Joe Flacco going to Baltimore. And you know the NFL wants that. So.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go with the Browns.
Yeah, because the Browns are the 5 seed.
Yeah.
And if they... No, because if they win, they'd play the lowest remaining seed. Which would be like Chiefs.
Unless the 6 and 7 lose.
Oh, yeah.
So there is a chance they play the Ravens.
They probably will, because that's the Steelers and Dolphins.
No.
Yeah, it would be Browns at Ravens.
So that's why I'm picking the Browns, because I feel like they want that Joe Flacco returns to Baltimore storyline.
Oh, of course they do. It's a juicy, juicy story.
All right, so next up you've got the Dolphins at the Chiefs, where the Chiefs are favored by 5. Also where it is -5 degrees. Game time expected temperature. With a wind chill of -23.
I'm taking the Chiefs. Sorry, Miami. This should just turn into a running game, and I know that's Miami's strength, but I
think Raheem Mostert's hurt, isn't he?
Yeah, he won't play.
Yeah, so...
I just don't see people that live in Miami handling a -23-degree wind chill very well. So
yeah, exactly. I'm with you. So I'll take the Chiefs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at Mostert is questionable, and Devon Kane is listed on the injury report with toe ribs. So they're kind of beat up.
Yeah. That's what got them as the season went on. The injuries just kept piling up for them. Tyreek Hill, all the running backs, they just...
Jalen Waddle injured and didn't play most of the end of the season. He's listed as questionable. Tyreek Hill's still on the injury report as ankle quad. Like Jalen Ramsey with knee injury. Deshaun Elliott, calf questionable. Xavier Howard, their corner, out. Like, it just does not look good for them. The only questionable for the Chiefs is Kadarius Toney, and you really actually would like him to sit out. So
yeah, who gives a shit?
Exactly. Packers at Cowboys, where the Cowboys are favored by 7.
Cowboys.
I actually want to pick. Do I go opposite of you on this one? Because I feel like they wanted this rematch. So the last time that these two played was the time they didn't call that a catch by Des Bryant, right?
It is.
So maybe this is the makeup game for that. I'll pick the Cowboys.
I don't know. I just know Jordan Love ain't that good. He just played the Bears last week, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's Aaron Rodgers." No, he's just playing Chicago, guys. The Cowboys are. The NFL wants a Cowboys 49ers NFC Championship game so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Cowboys for me. Though I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers managed to somehow sneak it out.
Here's the thing. I would love the Packers to win this game. I hate them both, but it would be hilarious to see the Cowboys lose in the first round of the playoffs again.
I would love it every second.
I'm just not that impressed by the Packers. I don't think they're that good.
Yeah. Rams at Lions, where the Lions are favored by 3 and getting absolutely no love from anyone at all that I've seen so far with playoff predictions.
I'm honestly surprised they're favored.
Yeah, with the way everyone's talking about this game,
everybody just hates them. Are you gonna pick the Rams so that you don't jinx the Lions?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll let every professional pick the Rams to jinx them, because honestly, did you watch the Lions-Cowboys game?
Yeah.
The Rams are good. They have not been at the top of the NFL all season like the Cowboys have, and the Lions basically beat the Cowboys. So I'm picking the Lions because I think they're going to win this game.
I have faith in I have the Lions in my NFC Championship game. I like them. I know the story of Stafford returning to Detroit has a lot of the media pumped up, but I just think the Lions are having a great year, and they should be extra motivated now that they're in the national spotlight after that bullshit Cowboys game to make a statement win.
And let me just say, as a Lions fan, I am very happy to see Stafford. And I would never boo him, ever. And for the loud minority of people on the internet saying, don't wear Stafford jerseys, don't cheer for Stafford, this is a playoff game, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't make any impact on the game whatsoever. Be loud while Stafford's on the field on offense. Make his team screw up. Totally fine. But there's no reason. First, there's no reason to be negative towards Stafford as a Lions fan. And for the loud, obnoxious shock jocks that have been saying stupid shit all week in Detroit, as a true Lions fan, I can say that everyone is happy to see Stafford succeed in Los Angeles, and we just don't want to see him beat us in our first playoff game at home in 30 years. So I just don't understand people saying stupid stuff like that. True Lions fans, you could not have had Stafford leave the Lions in a more amicable way. He left when he was still good, and we needed to move on. And we got 2 first-rounders and a young quarterback who's led us to the first divisional title they've ever had in the NFC North. Nothing could have been better as far as that went. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a fun game. It'll be fun to see Stafford in Detroit again, but everyone's, as usual, go Lions. So
nice. I agree. And I think the Lions, I'm picking them too. I think they win.
Sweet. Next up, you've got the Steelers at the Bills, where the biggest spread is, where the Bills are favored by 9.5. And this is the game that moved because it's going to be so freaking cold in Buffalo.
The snow and everything. I'm betting the Steelers to cover 9.5, but I'm taking the Bills to win. Yeah,
I'm with you. The good news is for both of them, they're both from cold places, so it should not affect one or the other worse than each other. So I think it'll be a close game. I think the Bills have played like one of the best teams in the AFC over the last month, 2 months. So it's easy for me to say the Bills at home, where they're comfortable.
Well, and the Steelers without TJ Watt are not nearly as scary on defense. So I look at it and say, all right, the Bills are going to win. I don't think they're going to blow them out. It's the weather. This could end up being a 10-3 game, but the Bills will win.
Makes sense to me. Last up, you've got the Eagles favored by 3 at the Buccaneers. This is a tough one, simply because the Eagles have sucked so bad, and they don't have A.J. Brown in this game.
I know. This is one of those that literally could shock everybody. I'm gonna take the Eagles, though. I have to imagine they're gonna pull their heads out of their asses. It's playoff time. Like, come on.
All right. Well, at least we'll have one different, because I am taking the Buccaneers.
All right.
And I think that
It's not a bad upset pick.
I'll take Mike Evans with over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
You gonna place that parlay?
I should.
Yeah, you're calling it right now.
Yeah, because that Eagles secondary is bad, and Mike Evans is very good. So I am calling a Mike Evans 150-yard game with 2 touchdowns.
I want to see that bet. You do a 3-leg parlay, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, Bucks win.
I like it. I'll do that after this.
Nice.
Well, that's going to do it for the first playoff podcast of 2024. This is going to be a fun weekend of football. We'll see how much fun I'm having after Sunday night. But Sunday is going to be a fun day of football for me. Actually being in the playoffs and enjoying a Lions playoff game again for the first time in a bunch of years, handful of years, will be a lot of fun. So, yep, it'll be good. Richie, you got anything else for the peoples?
No, just looking forward to a fun weekend of football and go Lions. I want to be discussing the game next week without having to talk about the shitty refs. That's yes. my goal would be to recap a Lions playoff game without having to comment on the refs being biased.
I agree. If they lose just because they weren't good enough, I can deal with that a lot better than the referee situations because that's just tough. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Coffin Corners. You can find us on TikTok at Coffin Corner Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/@CoffinCorners. Or if you listen to the YouTube and you want to find us on podcasts, you can find us on any podcast streaming platform there is. Just search for Coffin Corner and look for the pylon logo, and then you'll find us. So until next week, when we're covering the wildcard weekend of football, the Super Wildcard Weekend, as they call it now, then we'll be back for episode 27, and we'll see where we land on these picks and if we have any surprises. So until then, thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next week. Good luck to whoever you've chosen as your team in the playoffs, unless they're playing mine. See you next week.